One of the biggest reasons I'm against the organization-based training of service dogs are stories like the first two I'm going to show you. Although unrelated, I think there are actually the same issue just from different sides. So the first story is about a retired police officer whose service dog was taken by, I believe, no fault of her own. Well, I want people to read the actual article, but essentially what happened is this organization placed the dog with the handler and then claimed the handler was at fault for the dog's behavioral issues. What we're seeing with a lot of these positive only dog training groups is that they can train these tasks very well, and positive reinforcement works extraordinarily well for teaching very complicated behaviors. When we go through the article, two things really stand out to me is one, the dog had severe reactivity, although not aggressive reactivity, it seems more like frustration. Two, the dog actually improved with the handler training the dog. What did the organization go and do? They turned around and blamed the handler and said that the handler gave this dog such severe anxiety that the dog needs to be on medication for the rest of his life. This is the lie. This is the lie that positive only dog training loves to fester upon. When their methods fail at teaching appropriate boundaries and self control to the dog, they blame the human and then drug the dog. A real travesty, and I'm glad that Wounded Warriors took their funding. These following clips that you're seeing are actually from a different story. So, what's happening right now is these organizations are essentially bullying and getting their needs met over the needs of everyone else. Why I say they're bullying is they're trying to say that only ADI dogs should qualify for the same rights in Canada as you or I should be able to access. Everyone should be able to access a service dog without having to go through a program. And what these organizations want is that they are the only ones that can provide dogs that give you benefits from the government. They want to be able to come in between us as individuals and what the government is supposed to provide. Not only are these organizations supplying subpar training, they're also putting your dog in a situation where you don't actually own your dog. If I were to use a program dog, my dog would end up with no personality. These dogs are oftentimes handpicked to only have a certain type of temperament that does well with tons of reinforcement and no, like, positive reinforcement and no boundaries. They get to say what you can and cannot do with your dog. When their cult-like training fails, they turn around and blame you and take the dog from you. A dog that this woman loved gets taken from her unfairly. Instead of doing what the dog needs to have happen, which is not necessarily a punitive course of action, but it does require socialization training, they turn around and do something I think is much worse than even a punishment-based training method, which is forcing the drugs onto a dog. Forcing drugs onto a dog that has no idea what's happening to it. Removing it from a handler that loves that dog very much. And I know that there are so many people here that would be completely heartbroken to bond to a dog and have that dog taken from them because of the organization's bias and inability to provide proper training. A small group of dog trainers should not be able to decide the fate of every single dog in a country when it comes to service dog training. They should not be able to dictate such horrendous training methods as over-drugging a dog that really just needs socialization help. People want their service dogs not to be reactive, but ignore the fact that dogs are social creatures and some may need to make friends. But because of a lot of training methods wanting to look at the dog as an idiot and not as someone with complex emotional needs, they don't consider these things and instead just medicate the dog instead of creating a socialization plan and friends for the dog. Story, the Nova Scotia one that's local to me, and then the one lady from Ontario speaking on her experiences. In the case of Archie, if they had actually let the dog go to a competent trainer, this could have been fixed very easily. Having a dog removed from you because of the organization's failure can only be so elegantly worded as severely re-traumatizing. Your best bet is to own. You should own your dog. As disgusting as that wording may be for some people, that dog should belong to you in every legal metric. Trusting these organizations to do what's best for you is naive at best and detrimental for your health at worst. If you've watched this far, please try to subscribe and comment or like or just engage in any way. It does really help. I am doing my best to try to put out content that calls out this really disgusting behavior by so-called dog trainers, the behaviors that are hurting us as civilians. Too many times, dog ownership ends in tragedy, and the trainers should be one of the people preventing that, not increasing that. We need to put pressure on our local governing bodies to protect our rights so that these organizations can't step in and dictate every little aspect of your life with your animal. Yes, we need ways to protect dogs from bad dog owners, but what we do not need are organizations lying about their training and blaming handlers and disrupting and causing more pain and suffering.